Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the third annual State of Homelessness address. Today, we will hear reflections from leaders in our county about what happened during 2023, and also hear about their hopes for the future in addressing this pressing need in our community. I'm Becks Heyhoe, the Executive Director of United to End Homelessness, an initiative of the Orange County United Way. And today, I am delighted that I will be joined by the Orange County Board of Supervisors Chairman, Don Wagner, who is also the Chair of the Commission to End Homelessness, Supervisor Katrina Foley, the Chair of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust, Don Price, the Chair of the Continuum Care, Nichole Gideon, the Chair of the Lived Experience Advisory Committee of the Continuum Care, and Douglas Becht, the Director of the Office of Care Coordination for the County of Orange. As this event is looking back over the last year, I want to start out by pausing at the outset to acknowledge the loss that we have experienced as a community. Last year, 511 people passed away without a home, according to the Orange County Coroner's Report. So please join me in a moment of silence to honor these friends, family members, and neighbors. Thank you for taking a moment with me to remember them. And I do want to say thank you to Father Dennis Chris for holding vigil throughout the year. May their memories inspire our urgency to work towards housing solutions for our entire community. Before we dig into our program, I do want to thank all of you who are joining us today or who are viewing the recording for setting aside time in your day to learn more about what is happening here in Orange County to address homelessness. Last year, the UC Irvine School of Social Ecology conducted a public opinion poll in which people responded that homelessness and affordable housing were their two biggest concerns. And shockingly, 55% of respondents indicated that they personally know somebody who has experienced homelessness. Here at United to End Homelessness, we have been focused on bringing people together from across our community to find solutions. Whether this is your first time tuning into one of our events or you're a long-term partner, we are grateful for your part in the movement to bring housing solutions to Orange County and to improve the lives of people who are experiencing homelessness. Today, we've asked each panelist to share from their unique perspective about key developments on homelessness, to discuss where challenges still persist, and where they see us headed together as a community. Joining me first is Chairman Wagner, who serves as the Chair of the Commission to End Homelessness. Supervisor Wagner, over to you.
All right, well, we can't apparently get video because the host hasn't allowed it. Maybe we can fix that.
We will certainly work on.
All right, well, you guys don't need to see me. Just conjure up Brad Pitt in your mind and know that's not what you're going to get. Let me start by thanking you, Becks, for the opportunity to be here. And I want to thank all of you who have joined us today. It is important to have you here. I thank you for it. And thank Orange County United Way and United to End Homelessness for coordinating today's event. It provides us an opportunity to look back at what we've accomplished in 2023 and share some plans and hopes for 2024. Also, it gives us and me certainly an opportunity to express our thanks and my thanks for the partners who are working to address homelessness in Orange County. In 2023, as Becks mentioned, I served as chair for the Commission to End Homelessness. The commission works in collaboration with the county's government, with city governments, our business sector, philanthropic organizations, community organizations, faith-based organizations, healthcare, public safety, you name it, all the other interested stakeholders to promote an effective response to homelessness within Orange County. It also commissioned in 2023 the Homeless Survey, a survey focused on asking questions that provide an insight into homelessness efforts that are working, maybe those that are not working so well, gaps and barriers in services, and community ties questions. Doug Becht, the Director of Care Coordination, will talk a little bit more about the results, the finding and the recommendations being implemented following the 2023 homeless survey. But it's important to note the results of this study validated and in many ways complemented the results of the California statewide study of people experiencing homelessness conducted by UC San Francisco. The commission had an opportunity to hear a presentation from one of the lead researchers, and we had robust conversations about approaches to addressing homelessness. Additionally, in 2023, the cold weather emergency shelter model has been reevaluated, and going forward, the county continues to work diligently with cities and interested stakeholders to explore how to best make shelter available to folks experiencing homelessness during the cold and inclement weather months. This includes bridges at Kramer Place and the Yale Navigation Center, making beds quickly available to offer respite from the streets during tough weather times. We are also, as we look ahead into 2024, just a couple of weeks away from the 2024 point in time count. That's a mandate from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It provides a snapshot, just a moment in time, of the number of people experiencing shelter and unsheltered homelessness in Orange County. The 2024 point in time count provides an update, or will give us an updated data on demographics and disabling conditions of people experiencing homelessness, as well as subpopulation data, so that we may appropriately develop and target interventions for veterans, for transitional aged youth, for survivors of domestic violence and families. If you're able to, I encourage you to sign up to volunteer for this effort. Not only does this count support the data collection efforts, but provides us an opportunity to engage the very people that we're looking to serve. So for more information, including volunteer opportunities, please visit www.everyonecounts.oc.org. And finally, this week, the Board of Supervisors, just this week, 2 days ago, approved a pilot program brought forward by Supervisor Sarmiento to hopefully aid people before they lose their housing. It's a prevention effort. We'll track the program. We'll watch it closely, whether and how it succeeds, how to improve it if necessary, as it potentially gives us one more tool to combat homelessness here in Orange County. So in 2024, I'm looking forward to continuing the work we've all been doing, and that is so many of you on this call. It is recognized and appreciated. We're going to continue that work, including continued investments in emergency shelters and operations and housing, as well as looking for additional ways to prevent homelessness. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the chance to give a quick recap. And Becks, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Chairman Wagner, for your involvement with the Commission to End Homelessness, for your leadership, and for joining us today. Now we'll turn to Supervisor Katrina Foley, the Chair of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust. Supervisor Foley.
Thank you. Thank you, Becks. Thank you, Chairman Wagner. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the United Way and all of our partners who work together with us to help solve this housing crisis. I'm Supervisor Katrina Foley, and I represent the 5th District. The 5th District includes 14 communities from Costa Mesa all along the coast to San Clemente. And I also serve as the chair of the Orange County Housing Finance Trust. Today, my comments will focus solely on the work that we're doing at the finance trust, the Housing Finance Trust. The trust, if those of you who don't know, the trust is a joint powers agreement, and it includes 26 cities and the County of Orange. And it's aimed at financially supporting the development of permanent, supportive, and affordable housing. And yes, most of the neighbors that we see on our streets are from Orange County. The chairman mentioned the survey that we did this last year. Last year's survey is consistent with the survey that I did through my office in 2021, and that is that 77% of homeless residents in Orange County reported that their last home was in Orange County. So we're taking care of people who are here and that live here. Since its creation in 2019, the trust has successfully brought home $67.5 million in state and federal grant funding. And some of those funds include $1 million from a state of California general fund grant, $18.1 million through 3 rounds of competitive grant funding from the state of California Local Housing Trust Fund Program, $3 million from our federal partners, a grant to create a pre-development loan program to help cities and developers acquire sites and pay for the pre-development expenses. This funding will then be matched with other available funding from regional nonprofits. This is a creative new effort we're engaging in. $600,000 from our Orange County Council of Governments. It's called the REAP 1.0, which includes a GIS heat map. And we've developed this heat map to score affordable housing projects and look at the county as a whole and find locations and sites where we could have the most competitive location for building new housing development. And in 2023, we received an $8 million, Cal Optima contributing $4 million, SCAG matching it equally with another $4 million to create and finance a new accessory dwelling unit affordable loan program. This program will expand affordable housing development to support homeowners and will fund 68 accessory dwelling units across the county with $100,000 very low interest loans. And I'll just take a moment to say personally how important I think these accessory dwelling units are. A couple years back, my now 97-year-old grandmother and my 78-year-old mom moved in with us after their husbands passed, and we built an accessory dwelling unit in the back for them, and it's saved their lives. So accessory dwelling units are great for families, and we're helping to invest in those. $36.5 million has been invested by the County of Orange to supplement and to support the cause. So what have we done with all that money? Since 2019, the trust has completed 4 NOFA. That's a Notice of Funding Availability. And we've committed $32 million in funding to 20 multifamily rental projects. And of those 20 projects, that totals about 1,617 affordable and permanent supportive housing units. So we've been working hard. I'll just give you a rundown of some of the projects. There's 20 projects total, 3 in South County, San Juan, Capistrano, and Lake Forest, 8 projects in Central Orange County, Costa Mesa, Santa Ana, Garden Grove, and Westminster, and 9 projects in North County, Placentia, Buena Park, Anaheim, and Orange. There's 2 projects that have been completed. They're in Buena Park and Anaheim. And if anyone wants to tour, we're happy to arrange. 13 of the 20 projects are currently under construction. So it's going to be a busy year, and we're hoping to get more people in housing this next year in 2024. We have 5 remaining projects that are finalizing their development and plans and their financing, so we're hoping to continue to support them. Looking ahead, in 2 weeks, the trust will release our 5th NOFA, and this will include $25.7 million that'll be available for multifamily rental housing projects. And this time, the board has decided we want to increase the unit and the project limit. So we want to make sure that we are tracking with the increased cost of building housing. So we're increasing the loans and hoping to contribute more local dollars so we can build more housing faster. Why is the trust important to end homelessness and housing affordability, address the housing affordability crisis? Well, the trust provides gap funding. We're not funding the whole project, but if there's a shortage, in order to get the entitlement done, in order to get the construction loan, in order to get the tax credit, then we provide that gap funding. Sometimes it's $2 million. You know, it's just a little bit more to get the job done. And so we've been doing that successfully for a couple years now. And with the investment of our local dollars, our projects become more competitive for outside dollars. So for each dollar that we invest locally, we bring home more than $5 from state and private investors. But we need to do more with urgency and with creativity. I know you all agree. Innovation and collaboration are critical to end our homelessness crisis and to provide housing so people do not fall into homelessness. Last year, the trust worked closely with Caltrans and a creative idea where we are formulating a strategy that enables Caltrans to use affordable housing as a mitigating measure for the 5 freeway toll lane proposal. Caltrans' preliminary draft of the environmental impact report for the freeway expansion utilizing affordable housing funding as a vehicle miles traveled credit. So we're hopeful that we get this approved and finalized because it has the potential to bring tens of millions of dollars into the trust for investing in building housing for Orange County's workforce and the most vulnerable residents here in Orange County. Well, there's much more to do, and you can help. We are embarking this year on bringing private tax-deductible investments into the Housing Finance Trust. So we're going to begin a campaign to encourage private investment. If you want to help, please contact us, and we can work together to end homelessness. Shelter is necessary, but it's temporary. Housing ends homelessness. So at the Housing Finance Trust, our mission is to fund the development of affordable housing, and when successful, we will end homelessness in Orange County. If you want to learn more about the Housing Finance Trust and how you can invest or get involved, you can go to OCHFT, Orange County Housing Finance Trust, OCHFT.org to learn more. Thank you for your time, your partnership. Thank you to all the partners on this webinar and everybody who's attending. I look forward to answering your questions later in the webinar, and we work tirelessly every day for you to try to end homelessness. So thank you. Thank you, Becks. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Foley. It's truly wonderful to hear how far the trust has come since its creation not that long ago. The impact is wonderful, and it sounds like 2024 is going to be a really busy year. So thank you for joining us today to provide those updates. Next, we're going to hear from some Continuum of Care representatives. And for anybody who is not aware of what the Continuum of Care is, we often shorten it to the COC. So if you hear anybody say COC, they are just using the acronym for the Continuum of Care. And the COC has a big jurisdiction that's given to them by HUD. So it's around coordination, it's around outreach, it's sort of the place where everybody who's working on homelessness is sort of captured. The board is elected by its members. It is staffed by the County of Orange, but it is distinct from the County of Orange. And so delighted today to have 2 representatives from the COC with us. Dawn, I've been privileged to serve with Dawn for the last year, as she has been the chair of the Continuum of Care. So Dawn, over to you.
Thanks, Becks. And Becks has been, I just want to thank you publicly here as being such a wonderful, critical partner as the vice chair of our COC board this past year. It's been just tremendous working with you. As Becks mentioned, Orange County's Continuum of Care Board brings together the voices of a wide array of stakeholders who are committed to ending homelessness. Our general membership, which elects board members, includes any individual or group interested in helping improve our system of care. So come on board. We'd love to have you. Our COC board sets the policies for and distributes much of the funding within our system of care, particularly the federal funding and an increasing amount of the state funding in response to homelessness. And we do so under a vision document that we adopted in January of this past year. The 6 tenets of that document include permanently housing those who experience homelessness, ensuring an efficient, dignified system, promoting an equitable and just system, driving system-wide engagement and collaboration, strengthening regional leadership and accountability, and smartly allocating funds to match the greatest needs. So in 2023, we engaged in our work through the lens, for the first time, through the lens of this vision, as well as a racial equity roadmap that we had developed in 2022. And we found that both of these tools demanded that we work toward more representative voices and perspectives at our table. At our table, we're making these funding decisions, we're making policy decisions, and we need these representative voices, particularly the voices of Black and Indigenous people who are overrepresented and underserved in our homeless population. And so we were very intentional about that this year. And I think in many ways, while the funding we oversee is critical, the policies that we adopt and consider are critical, this work toward representation may be our biggest achievement for 2023. We adopted a racial equity dashboard and engaged in work to update and improve our charter and nominating process to improve the diversity of our board. And we intentionally made more room at our table and changed ways of working to accomplish this. It was time intensive, it was intentional, and it worked very, very well. I'm excited about the newly elected board members. To show you why this is important, I wanted to talk about some of the challenging things we did this past year. Throughout the year, we engaged in some hard conversations. And in doing this, these things would really benefit from the representational voices that we intentionally brought forward. One of those hard conversations was related to access to client data by systems like law enforcement and healthcare. And as we engaged in those conversations, also about funding prioritization, in each case, the dignity and experience of those experiencing homelessness brought forward to us through people with lived expertise. And you will hear in a moment from Nichole, who chairs that subcommittee. Those voices became essential when these very hard questions came forward for us. When we had to make a choice, we leaned toward the dignity and privacy of the clients we serve. Other highlights from this year, we adopted a strategic investment tool. It's a HUD tool that will eventually help us understand all of the financial investments throughout our systems and more effectively help us prioritize new funding. We approved an improved system alignment, but with United Way's acquisition of 211. We created a domestic violence committee to amplify the unique perspective of DV survivors and providers. Our veterans committee continued its significant work in engaging and tracking success in ending veteran homelessness. Both our housing committee and our full board provided critical oversight and accountability to our system's use of housing choice vouchers. These were those very precious COVID-funded housing opportunities that came through our system and needed to be distributed in an equitable and effective way. And we have been on those numbers every month to ensure that those vouchers are getting out there and making a difference. Our service provider forum was completely reimagined this year, and it provides a meaningful, well-attended monthly gathering place for people working within our system to connect, learn, and support each other. I really welcome your involvement. Anyone can join our continuum of care as a general member. Most of the meetings I just mentioned are open to the public. We invite you to participate in our committees and attend our meetings. I believe homelessness is a problem that affects us all, and solutions require involvement from all of us. As Becks highlighted at the beginning of this meeting, this work is urgent, and it's evidenced by the people who lose their lives while still on the street without the opportunity to find their way home. At each of our board meetings, our board member Jason Phillips takes a moment to read the names of the people who've died since the last meeting. And it's a sad but necessary practice because it centers us on the need to act boldly and effectively. It is a really critical part of reminding us why our work is so important. But I also want to say that this work is also joyful. We do know what works in our system, and we are making progress. The people who work within our continuum of care system, and especially those on our board and on our staff, are compassionate, principled, and effective. And against what can seem like insurmountable challenges, we're creating new housing opportunities. You've heard about many of them already today. For the first time, we're using healthcare funds through CalAIM to navigate people out of homelessness and to keep them stably housed. We're aligning our systems and breaking down longstanding barriers to work together. And I just personally feel we have a more promising mix of vision, intention, funding, and collaboration than I've seen in my 15 years in this system. I want to take just a moment to thank all our board members, to welcome the new board members who will join us for the first time next week, and most of all, to express gratitude to our wonderful Office of Care Coordination staff who have worked tirelessly to facilitate our Continuum of Care's programs and efforts. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Back to you, Becks.
Thank you so much, Dawn. A lot has happened over the last year as the COC, and you did a tremendous job of condensing that down into your remarks. As Dawn mentioned, a really necessary part of the leadership of the continuum of care is to incorporate the perspective of people who know what it is like to live without housing in our community. The Lived Experience Advisory Committee provides the voice and the expertise to help shape policies and priorities for addressing homelessness. And I'm delighted today that Nichole Gideon, the chair of that committee, a fellow COC board member, is with us today. So Nichole, I welcome you. Oh, Nichole, we can't hear you just yet.
Well, thanks, Becks, and thanks everyone for having me here today. It was amazing to hear so many sides to the work being done. My name is Nichole Gideon. I'm formerly homeless for over 8 years, and I now serve both on the COC board, the Continuum of Care board, and also as the chair of the Lived Experience Advisory Committee. We've had a really great year of growth since we were established 2 years ago. We have quite a different spread of demographics. We have veterans and older adults and women and children, people who've experienced domestic violence. And each one of those creates a different path through the system and creates an opportunity to give feedback to service providers, to the faith-based community, and the Office of Care and Coordination. We were able to work together to see what kind of recommendations from our personal experience we could bring to facilitate change, both in those funding opportunities that the Continuum of Care Board has and the policy changes. One of the first recommendations that we included was we reviewed the coordinated entry system policies and procedures, focusing on ensuring that it was accessible to the most vulnerable people in the need of housing opportunities. We collaborated with local service providers and COC partners to incorporate the lived experience perspective into the trainings, such as trauma-informed care, harm reduction, and the low barrier approach. Obviously, we have a lot of passionate people on our board with a lot of different experiences, and we were able to partner both with members of the COC board and the Office of Care and Coordination, and as well as a HUD training representative, to start to understand what is in the purview of the board and things that we could really implement change on. And we've had this wonderful dynamic of cooperation and collaboration, not only at board level and community level, but also with each committee that the COC board has. So we've been able to work with the Service Providers Committee, with the Veterans Affairs Committee, the Domestic Violence Committee, and we've really been able to see some of these recommendations and to feel valued. And it's been a really, really great year to see that as things are changing and the momentum shifting with racial equity and different approaches to creating an end to homelessness, that people's opinions that have been there are very valued, and just to be a part of the work. Some of the other things we've been able to partner with is the COC's Notice of Funding Opportunity ad hoc, which was the first time someone from our committee was included in this, and really speak to the evaluation and the review of the projects that are receiving the COC funding. With the funding, know folks that when they come out, the prioritization was revisited to see, you know, what that would look like, and we got to have 2 members participate in that. As well as the COC nominating ad hoc, the group that reviews the COC board nomination and election process and what the board composition should look like. So we're seeing a movement from, in the beginning of our year, we had people visit our meetings and kind of begin to ask our opinions. And as we've grown, now we're seeing our members go out and serve on ad hocs. There are 2 people on the COC board with lived experience, and we're really able to integrate both the education and the professionalism with some boots on the ground experience. Looking into the new year, we're really looking to try to look creatively at the design and the structure of outreach teams so we can better meet people where they're at. And get them into shelter and housing. There seems to be a lot of barriers to the approach and being able to stay in touch and to facilitate these relationships that could really begin to build into the education and the implementation of being willing to participate with the system. So thanks for letting me be here today. There's so and to look and see in other ways we're going to grow in this next year.
Thank you so much, Nichole. It is so exciting to hear the tremendous growth and progress that the Lived Experience Advisory Committee has had over the last 12 months. And I want to thank you for your leadership of that committee and your service on the board. It really has, I meant it when I said it's been a delight to have worked with you in this. We are about to go to our last speaker, but I do want to share that after our last speaker speaks, I will be facilitating a discussion with our panelists. So do please stick around for that, where we're going to have a bit more of an informal dialogue and conversation around 2023 and our hopes for 2024. And with that, I'm really excited to welcome Doug Becht, the Director of the Office of Care Coordination for the County of Orange. He has a big job that he does, that he approaches with integrity and courageous leadership. So Doug, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Becks. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Beck said, I'm Doug Becht. I'm the Director of the Office of Care Coordination here at the county. Our office is the lead office here at the county in helping coordinate efforts to address homelessness, both within county resources and with our city and provider partners. First, I want to thank United Way for hosting this important event and providing me an opportunity to participate in it. We are at an interesting time here in Orange County when discussing the current state of homelessness. We've seen significant improvements in our ability to help people experiencing homelessness over the last 5 to 7 years. And we've also seen a reduction in the amount of people experiencing homelessness according to our most recent point in time count. But we're also facing a potential future landscape where there will be a reduction in the funding that has previously helped us stand up critical housing, shelter, and resources that have been vital to our success. Additionally, our overall system is fairly young, and we are starting to evaluate, assess, and improve on the system we've built over the last 5 to 7 years. So as we look to understand how we can improve our existing system, and knowing that we will have to be more efficient with potentially less of funding from our state and federal government, it's critical that we continue to turn to the people we are seeking to serve to get their feedback on our system and get direction from them on where to go. I'm proud to say that we took a big step in that direction during 2023. As the chairman mentioned in his remarks, the county, at the direction of the Commission to End Homelessness, conducted a survey of roughly 600 people experiencing homelessness, with an attempt to understand their experience with the system of homeless system, where they believe it needs to improve, and what direction we should be moving towards. I'd like to share a few of the high-level findings. First, and most importantly, we validated that people are interested in help and are already engaging in our system. We saw not only a high number of people participating in our extended survey, but more importantly, they reported at high numbers as actively engaging in services already and enrolled in benefits, while also expressing an interest in further. Second, we saw that continued trend of a growing percentage of seniors, those that qualify as chronically homeless, and those experiencing disabling conditions amongst those experiencing unsheltered homelessness in our community. Third, when it comes to engaging people on the streets, we saw that less than half of those that we surveyed stated they engaged with an outreach worker or case manager in the last 3 months, really highlighting our need to continue to address and improve our strategies on getting to folks. Fourth, when it comes to considering shelter, the most important factors people consider is the level of safety, respect, and personal space that the shelter will provide to them. And then finally, we saw that people tend to stay in one area when experiencing their homelessness. It's mainly due to them being familiar with the area, feeling safe, or having a friend or family member close by. Adversely, we did see that factors such as where people went to school, where they previously lived, or where they have family isn't the best indicator to the tie to the location that they're experiencing unsheltered homelessness. So for us at the county, we are using this feedback to improve our system and help direct us plan for the future. We're excited to improve the different areas of our system, including our outreach strategies and our shelter operations. We're also excited to continue to engage and incorporate people with lived expertise into our planning process. Additionally, we look at the governor's budget proposal announced yesterday, seeing that addressing homelessness is still a top priority, but much fewer long-term funding commitments were announced than in previous years. And as we lean on the recent success of our county has had through our investments and resources in housing, combined with the validation of the voices of those we surveyed, we are excited to continue to strengthen our relationships and work with our local, state, and federal partners to ensure that we can continue to maintain and build a system that helps end people's homelessness. Finally, as many folks said prior to me, our 2024 point in time count is coming up in less than 2 weeks, and there will be a critical exercise in understanding the progress we are making and will help provide us guidance for our system in the future. In order to have the most thorough and accurate count, it's critical we get enough volunteers to participate. So please, if you haven't done so already, consider joining us between Tuesday, January 23rd and Thursday, January 25th in conducting the unsheltered count throughout the county. You can sign up at everyonecounts.oc.org, and I personally look forward to seeing everyone that volunteers. With that, thanks again, and I'll pass it back to Becks.
Thank you so much, Doug. And I will take a moment to also plug the point in time count. I'm signed up. I am ready to go. And would encourage everybody, if you are available, I could almost guarantee that you're free because the times for the shifts are times that most of us don't tend to be booked. They are nice and early in the morning and later into the evening. It is critical data that we are able to gather for our community. So as you tuned in today, you're clearly somebody who is interested in homelessness in Orange County. So would love to encourage you to volunteer. There's different ways you can do that. And I know that the team popped the link in the chat. So with the time that we have remaining, we want to give our panelists a chance to respond to some of the questions that you all provided when you signed up for the event. So if the panelists would be so kind as to turn your cameras on and welcome back. I know that Supervisor Wagner had to leave, he had to step out to attend another meeting. So that's why we don't have him back with us, but I'm delighted to have everybody else here. So the very first question that I'm going to open with, it's a big one, and I'm sure that lots of people will have thoughts on this. I was trying to summarize a lot of different questions that came through, but there was this theme that kept reoccurring around barriers. So I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on some of the biggest barriers that we have in our system when it comes to solving homelessness? And how might we be able to address those more creatively? Supervisor Foley, we'll come to you first.
I will name three. I'm sure that Mr. Becht, who is dealing with these issues, as well as you, Becks, every single day, probably can identify more. But three barriers that my office confronts with people we're trying to help is one, maybe they don't have access to transportation. And so they can't get to where they need to go to get help. And so that is a real barrier that many of us who just get in our car and go or somehow get where we need to go, we don't maybe appreciate that. So that's one barrier. Second barrier is the cost of housing. That's the most significant barrier. The cost of housing and the wages that people are able to make in maybe like a lot of service industry jobs that we have here in Orange County do not match with the cost of housing. It's very difficult to be able to get into housing. And then three, even if you can get into housing, you have the money to afford the rent, maybe you can't get in because you have a bad credit or you have some kind of inability to get the security deposit or the down to be able to move in. Those are issues that we've dealt with in our office. And I'll just refer everybody to, we did a great town hall with Becks and others about the housing voucher program and landlords and the programs that we have at the county to supplement and help with some of those upfront costs that people have as a barrier to getting into housing.
Thank you, Supervisor Foley. Would anybody else? Doug, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I really think Supervisor Foley nailed it. Housing inventory is by far the biggest barrier. And the challenge with that is not only just that we don't have enough housing to put people in, is that it's difficult. We can build shelters, we could provide outreach, and we could provide services, all incredibly critical. But at the end of the day, we know that housing is really the critical component that ends someone's homelessness. And the other fear that I have at times is that our shelters I think are really successful. We could always improve on making them more accessible. We strive every day to lower the barriers of entry and get more people to utilize them. But the difficulty in housing people because of our lack of housing inventory, sometimes I think is unfairly put on our shelter system, as if that's a failure of our shelter system in the inability to house folks. So I really, housing is so incredibly critical. But then day to day, I think Supervisor, you hit the nail on the head. Orange County has a public transportation system that just isn't friendly to folks that don't have a car that need to utilize it to get to different appointments. I could go on for quite some time and really appreciate the question. Thanks, Becks.
Thank you, Doug. Dawn, Nichole, anything that you would like? Dawn, please.
Nichole could go too. I'm just, I was mostly gonna say, yes, it's housing. And I really do think I'll just go even further to say, and here I'm kind of putting my service provider hat on when I'm not chairing the COC board. I'm the executive director at Friendship Shelter. I really believe our system is poised. We have the resources in place that if the housing was there, we could go miles beyond what we're already doing. We have the providers in place. We have the wonderful new resources through CalAIM for stability services and navigation. We just need the units, affordable units, and more subsidies for those units.
Absolutely. Nichole, did you want to add?
Well, I mean, everybody's right. I mean, the housing, that's just a fact. We don't have the buildings built, but I think it forces us to really start thinking creatively. Some of the things I've seen this year with CalAIM, with the street medicine program, is that we're really pushing to say, hey, is it bus passes going to help facilitate to get people in a healthier place or possible? And if we can get just that quality of life of the homeless until we can figure and think about creative solutions for the time being. I mean, honestly, I think Orange County is doing a great job of addressing the problems, knowing what it takes. It's a really hard problem that can't be solved overnight. And I think all the effort we're seeing put into the if creating mailing addresses or computer labs so people can keep in touch with their caseworkers, so we can really begin to look at what people want help and what people don't, and work on that in the meantime while their application is going through. How can we treat them as human and help them feel better about themselves? And I think there's just definitely still work to do. I'm really grateful that everyone's here and that we're really hitting some of these barriers head on. And the fact is, it's a long way to go, and we have a good system that we're continuing to work through. Everyone here, it's not easy work, and I'm just really grateful to see all the people that put the blood, sweat, and tears into addressing this problem. And I really think we're going to do a great job of making some progress.
Thank you, Nichole. You were thanking the people that had tuned in today, and we have such a broad audience that have tuned in for today's State of Homelessness address. We have from elected officials to community groups to faith leaders to individuals, and I'd be really curious to hear from each of you. What's one way that you might encourage people who are watching to get more involved in helping to end homelessness in 2024? I will.
Well, of course, we can get more involved by joining with the point in time count. I mean, we're kind of on a mission to get more people volunteer. So we're all talking about that a lot and repeating ourselves. But yes, please do sign up for the point in time count and help us get out there in the community so that we can really identify, a snapshot in time what the situation is so that we can come up with solutions for it. And then I would also encourage people to really, I like to push this landlord-tenant, the landlord voucher program, because I think if more landlords understood the benefits of accepting the voucher program and having those tenants come in, we would actually be able to do a lot more with our vouchers that we have. One other barrier that people have is, we get them in a situation where they're ready to accept a voucher, we give them a voucher, and then they have no place to use the voucher. And so that's a barrier that we really have to resolve. And the way to do that is to get more landlords to understand that it's not a big scary thing. It's actually really beneficial. You get a check or auto deposit into your bank account. The rent's paid on time every month. You have a lot of support and services that you wouldn't have with just any other tenant. And there's some security deposits and funding that comes with it. So the incentive programs are there to encourage.
Absolutely. And if we have any property owners who are tuned in today, very happy to talk to you about our Welcome Home OC program that we operate as United Way, but also very happy to connect you to any of our service provider partners who also help to move people into housing. So happy to be a conduit. Thank you for raising that, Supervisor Foley. Anybody else? Dawn, I'm just gonna, no, I'm good. Oh, no, Dawn and Doug. Sorry, this is what happens when you don't preemptively assign people. Dawn.
I was just gonna, I think showing up here today is a great first step. It shows your interest. Be curious, ask questions, don't make assumptions. There are so many assumptions and misconceptions about people experiencing homelessness, and most of them are wrong or off. And I certainly held many bad assumptions prior to entering this field. I just encourage you to ask questions that you worry aren't politically correct or aren't the right question, but ask it, get it out there, have a service provider or one of us answer them and help you on the road to knowing the facts about homelessness and how you can help improve the dignity and the quality of life for all of our neighbors.
Yeah, I guess I'll add, and on to Dawn's point, I think one very concrete way is we do have monthly COC meetings, which are open to the public and a great way to understand what's going on at a very local level around addressing homelessness. We also have the Commission to End Homelessness that serves that same purpose with a slightly different body that occurs once every 2 months. And then obviously, our Board of Supervisors plays such a gigantic role in helping fund and support, and their meetings are public on Tuesdays. I think as we move forward, another area to think about is to get out and engage with your local elected officials and at the state level. As I mentioned in my remarks, it's been pretty widely announced that the state is looking at a deficit. And it's important that us as advocates advocate to our elected officials on how important it is to continue to fund some of these very critical and, more importantly, successful programs that really impact our ability to continue to help folks. So it's always really important that people get involved in that way as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug, for bringing that up. The National Alliance to End Homelessness is actually helping us advocate for some funding at the federal level right now. And so hopefully our team will pop that link into the box for anybody who's watching. They make it really easy to customize emails to our representatives at the federal level. So thanks for bringing that up, Doug. Supervisor Foley?
I want to ask this question that we have in the questions from Patricia Smith. Is there a one-page list of service providers that a person can give out? I'm sure there must be, right? I'm always looking for these lists for the area that I represent. And if there is, it'd be great if we could send that out.
Thanks for highlighting that question. I know in the hygiene kits that go out with the point in time count that there is a resource guide with that. So I'd imagine that that's sort of a flurry of activity getting that updated for the point in time count. So yes, those will be available. Thank you. And as we're nearing an end to our time together, I want to just sort of end on a slightly more personal note. This work is hard. I've been working in addressing homelessness in 2 countries for, gosh, almost 2 decades, which is aging myself. And it's, it can be hard to keep motivated in this work. And so as we're looking into 2024, I'd just love to hear from each of you. What is it that motivates you? What is it that keeps you going in this important work? And I will start with Doug.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. I think 2 things. The previous success that we've had shows that we can continue to be successful in the future. And then most importantly, the basic right that people have to have housing and dignity that it provides, and that everyone should, everyone should be able to feel and realize. So the work is just so incredibly important. That's what helps drive me, and I know many of my colleagues.
Thank you, Doug. Supervisor Foley, I'll come to you next.
Thank you. I think what continues to motivate me, I mean, many of you know my story who are on the panel, some who are participating may not, but as a girl, our family was very, very poor, and it wasn't unusual for us to be sharing a bed, a couch, living in a tiny little trailer with 5 family members, and really relying on the safety net of the community to help us. And so that life, a different life that I live now, is what motivates me every day to help people, because I want to give back and make sure that, the little girls and boys that are like I was when I was a kid, have everything they need to meet their full potential. So that's what I'm motivated.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Foley. Nichole, I'll come to you next.
Well, as the lived experience representative, of course, my own experiences are what motivates me. But really, I just don't think there's enough success stories out there to let people know that, when someone's on the streets and they're down on their luck and their clothes look bad, that they're really only, a little journey away from a part of the community and being someone that, you would sit next to in a classroom. As I headed back to school at Cal State Fullerton and working in social work, it's really, I'm looking forward to that 360 switch and to be able to start the journey, to pay it forward back into the community. Because the life I live now is amazing. And so the times that I was homeless, it just seems like an important part to recognize and remember where I come from, and to pay it forward to the community and all of the different parts that helped made my success today possible. So.
Thank you, Nichole. And Dawn, we'll close with you.
We have a tradition at Friendship Shelter. We have a bell in our office, and we ring that bell every time one of our clients is housed. And so I just echo what Nichole said, just the joy of seeing someone with our help solve that problem and be in their own home, and to see the happiness on their face, and frankly the real satisfaction that our staff get in being a part of that work. It just it reinforces the importance of this work every day. And I will just tell anyone listening who wants to get involved in this work, there are plenty of positive vibes coming through the work every day, because we are solving the problem.
Well, thank you. And as we wrap up this conversation, I do want to encourage everybody who joined us today to learn more. We, as United to End Homelessness, put on our Homelessness 101 classes. That's a great place to bring your questions. Volunteer to help in the point in time count later this month. Participate in local advocacy. Show support to your civic leaders who are being bold and courageous enough to bring solutions to homelessness to the table. Links to all of those opportunities have been provided in the chat, and we will also be sending out a follow-up email to everybody who registered for today's event. I repeatedly heard the theme around housing and how we need more housing. And I wore my "Housing is a Human Right" t-shirt today for today's discussion, because it is so important that we remember that housing is what solves homelessness. So I do want to say thank you so much to our panelists today, to Chairman Wagner, to Supervisor Foley, Dawn, Nichole, Doug. Thank you for your leadership. We appreciate all of you for your commitment to understanding our community better, so that we can end homelessness more effectively for each of our neighbors. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. Have a wonderful day, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do together in 2024.